Welcome to episode 143 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Angie Cho and Laura Morris are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. Check us out and be sure to sign up for our mailing list for special subscriber-only offers. So welcome. And today we thought we would chat about how to use a Feng Shui crystal ball.
Yes. And we're going to start by explaining what is a Feng Shui crystal ball, because some of you might not know when we say that. I know we just assume that everybody knows whenever we mention it. And often people are like, what is that? ? So we're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about why we talk about them all the time and always say to use them. And then we're going to go over how you use them and their jobs in Feng Shui. So the first question, well, what is a Feng Shui crystal ball? I'm going to start by the way I describe it is a tool. It is, there are many ways to adjust, enhance in Feng Shui, and in Black Sect Feng Shui, which is the Feng Shui that Angie and I practice and teach in our certification program, it is one of the tools. We don't have a lot of things that we use in BTB, but one of the ones that we do use is, and we do group them in a particular way of thinking about it. When we teach the program in level 1, we go over all of the different ways that you can. It's kind of like your toolbox, your Feng Shui toolbox in a way, and things that you're at your disposal and how you can get creative to enhance, to adjust, to correct something. And one of those is a Feng Shui crystal ball, and it falls in the category of what we would call bright, I suppose, because we group these in. So bright is usually the way we describe it, connected with light, that idea of sort of light as well. And Feng Shui crystal balls specifically are man-made. We are not talking about, when we say crystal, we're not talking about crystals that you dig out of the earth. We're talking about man-made crystals that have a little hole in the top of them. They're a prism. They're cut. They come in different sizes. The size that we generally recommend is 40 millimeter, which is about the size of a golf ball. And it has a small hole drilled in the top for a string to go through. And they are to be hung. Most of the time they are hung. So that's why that little hole is there. And it is a crystal that is highly refractive and reflective, and it's able to move the chi around a space, and also light. You'll notice that it casts rainbows and it sparkles. Angie, what else would you add to that?
I think that one thing is, I would go back to what people sometimes think of Feng Shui crystal ball is. Sometimes I think it's like the crystal ball that you think of when you went to the fortune teller in the tent that has a smooth crystal ball, and that is a crystal ball. But like Laura's saying, we have this faceted Feng Shui crystal ball, and that's a different thing. And you often hang it from the ceiling, and it's one of the simplest ways to adjust the Feng Shui. And a lot of people, sometimes I don't recommend it to a client, and they'll say, wait, but I want to put a Feng Shui crystal ball. So people really like them. And often, I think, actually, I would say the ways that they're kind of put up. Well, okay. One thing is, I realize a lot of people just buy them and then they don't know what to do with them. Mm-hmm. So then they're like, I don't know what to do with this. And then they just hang it in front of the window. They just find a window to hang in front of,
which is okay, which is fine. It's just, and they're pretty. They're very pretty. Yeah. And they do, they will sparkle. They will make your home sparkle. And sometimes you can put them in a window, but you have to have, if that's what you needed to adjust, you just kind of have to figure it out. So it's not everyone needs a Feng Shui. I think not everyone needs a feng shui crystal ball, just FYI. It's not like a magical thing that you should bring into your house that will all of a sudden make everything wonderful. It is a tool that is used to generally enhance or correct something that you feel needs to be corrected or enhanced. You can, there has to be an intention around it, right? There has to be a reason, a feng shui reason.
Well, yeah, when you put the intention or the reason with it is when it becomes a feng shui object. Otherwise, it can
It's a
just
pretty
be a
ball.
beautiful little home decor item. So, this goes for even like with furniture as well. Sometimes people say like, like someone asked us recently, where can I buy a feng shui plant? Well, if there's a plant is a plant and you can buy any plant, but it's your intention and how you apply it that gives it a feng shui meaning or a feng shui purpose. So I think one of the most effective ways to talk about it, and Laura, I started saying this because you started talking about it this way, but you talk about how the feng shui crystal ball, it has this yang energy. It's like the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it has that, it's that category of bright, but it has this quality of the sun, and it can provide. So if you think about the sun, what does the sun do for us here on earth as humans? The sun provides light, provides warmth, provides illumination, provides actually it's something that we can rely on as well, right? To kind of be there and support us, and provides a lot of clarity, because without the sun we wouldn't be able to see, we wouldn't be able to grow plants and take care of ourselves and nourish ourselves. So it's I think that's a great metaphor for it.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us sort of into the second part of this whole exploration of how to use a feng shui crystal ball is, why do we use them? And we'll get specific ways that we use them, but it is, again, we sort of talked about this, it is a tool. It is a tool. They aren't magical, just so you know. They don't have magical properties. It's different than a crystal that from the earth, like let's say it's a citrine or an amethyst, that have they have their own vibration. They're from the earth, so they have that earth chi built into them, and because they come from earth. And each, those of you that study crystals or are really knowledgeable crystals know that even beyond that, each of those crystals has their own vibration. Whereas the feng shui crystal is it's like a mirror. It's the same. It's very similar to how we use a mirror in feng shui. So it's used as a tool, and even a pendulum. You know, even when you use a pendulum, it is a way to tap into your biofeedback, right? It's not the pendulum that is magical. It's really just tapping into your higher self. And I would say the same thing for the feng shui crystal. It is a tool that has been sort of designed and used because of its ability to work with chi, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the energy and the chi in a space. And so it has this ability to change the chi. Okay. And then you layer on your intention, you put it in the right place, you acknowledge and become aware of something that needs to be adjusted. And then you bring in this feng shui crystal to be a symbol of your intention. And also it will do the work that it needs to do, which, you know, it has sort of different purposes. Does that make sense, Angie?
Yeah. And I also might add too, the quality of the crystal makes a difference too. If the cheaper they are, the more likely that they're if they're made of very inexpensive glass, then they don't have the brilliance of the sun as much as a crystal, well-made crystal does. And there's also like we suggest a size of a minimum of 40 millimeters, because oftentimes people will want to just get the small little dinky thing the size of an olive. And we're talking more the size of a golf ball or bigger, depending on the situation. But a small little crystal the size of an olive may not be able to do the job, right?
Yes. Or you'll need a bunch of them.
Yes. And then, but just get the right thing for the job.
Mhm. Yeah.
Get the right thing for the job. So, and then some other, like one of my favorite ways to use a feng shui crystal ball is if you know how to apply the bagua map to your home, you can use it to enhance any of the guas to provide more clarity or to activate that gua. And if you don't know how to apply the feng shui bagua map to your home, that's okay. You could just put it in the center of your home because the center affects all the areas of your home.
Yes. And when we do hang a feng shui crystal, we usually hang it from a red string. And that is another way to, again, we're talking about activating, we're talking about enhancing, we're talking about galvanizing and really bringing our intention together. And that red, which if you've listened to our color podcast, red is a really important color. And it's almost like it kickstarts it. It gives it that extra vava, like boom, and it clears it, it protects it, it does all the things that red does, right? Which is a great color.
Yes, but it is also good to refresh, to clean your crystal balls, maybe every Chinese New Year or once a year on your birthday or something, because they can accumulate grease and dust. And then the whole idea is that if something in your home or in your life is accumulating dust, it means there's no attention put on it and it's being forgotten. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not able to do its job. So it becomes more of a dust collector than a support, an energetic support.
Yeah. And it does need to be clear because it needs to have light and energy pass through it, right? So you don't want it to be gross and dirty and dusty. So another ways that you can use them is to modulate chi. So, and what that means is sometimes energy flows through a space and it can either be moving too quickly or being stagnant and not moving at all. And feng shui crystal has the ability to either to modulate it, literally to make sure make sure that it's flowing smoothly. And so if you have an area of your home that feels really stagnant and, maybe abandoned and, diminished, you can hang a feng shui crystal there to see, to get things moving. Or if you have a really long hallway, let's say a long, narrow hallway with a runner and, a whole bunch of doors, and it just feels like, the chi is just compressed and it's moving really, quickly all the way down the hall, hanging a feng shui crystal in from the ceiling in that hallway will help to slow that chi down. So it has this ability to either to harmonize it, to either slow it down or speed it up, but again, to modulate it, to make it moderate, to calm it down. And then the other one, which Angie brought up, is to use it for brightness. So to use it as in that category of bright, which is light, as well as mirrors, you're asking it to bring in the energy of the sun or brightness. And typically, when we would use it for this, it would be when I generally like to use it in the center to bring this kind of energy. Although, and which Angie talked about, although we often will look at it's kind of a combination of enhancing a gua and using it as the sun. So if we're looking at a client's floor plan or we're talking with them and we notice that they have a really dark, kind of dank little closet, let's say, or something that is like forgotten and they need to, and it happens to be in a particularly important gua for them. Not everyone is, but we've gone through kind of an exploration. We've chatted with them and we've said, you know what, given what else we've talked about, this closet needs some TLC. And so then we can say, okay, well, why don't we hang a feng shui crystal in the closet to bring in that energy of the sun? Let's wake up that gua, right? So it's a little bit of combining, yes, enhancing the gua because we know it's important, and not every gua needs to be enhanced. And we say this, we sound like broken records, but we say this over and over again. But through, looking at things, through looking at the floor plans, through talking to the client, through kind of coming, asking questions, looking at other things, we've discovered that no, this is something we really want to look at and we want to focus on. So yeah, let's enhance it. Let's bring in the Feng Shui crystal into this particular area.
Yeah. And actually that reminds me like of when last month, Laura, when you and I did that free Feng Shui floor plan boot camp, we had so much fun because a lot of the people on our mailing list sent in floor plans, and we did 2 of them actually because we got so many floor plans, and we only got to go through about an eighth of them. But it was so fun to be able to look at different floor plans and have people learn like there's so much more than just the checklist things, that when we can actually just read your floor plan. So we hope you'll join our mailing list so you can be invited to those special subscriber only offers that we have. And if
we
you
should
are,
probably tell them how to find Feng Shui crystals. Maybe.
Oh, right. Yeah. And if you are looking for a Feng Shui crystal ball, you can find them online, but I also sell them at the Holistic Spaces store if you go to holisticspaces.com. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Holistic Spaces podcast. I hope you had fun learning about Feng Shui crystal balls. And you can tune in every Monday for a new podcast episode. And we actually just realized that most of the podcast providers don't display all the episodes. So now we are now working on a podcast archive. So you can find that at holisticspaces.com, the older episodes, but I think Laura and I are going to go through and revisit a lot of them, like talking about the bagua areas. And we'll see how that flies. We're trying lots of things and seeing how you guys react. And if we get good feedback, we keep going. If we don't, we try something new. So we're trying something new this time. And so again, thank you so much for listening. And you can always support the podcast by checking out our Feng Shui certification program and mini courses at mindfuldesignschool.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.